There's no particular image you have to show. So our big philosophy around blogging is that you're blogging for the next client. Like, you've given your client their images, you've given them their slideshow probably. The blog is not for them. So there's no images that have to make the blog.
Yeah. When we say blog though, just to kind of, like you say, it's not just blog, it's like your portfolio.
Yeah, the whole...
your Facebook page or your social media, whatever it is, like all the stuff you're putting out there.
You might have a different philosophy around blogging, and that's cool, and if that works for you and everything else, but we all blog for our next client, not for that client who's in the pictures. Like, it's entirely up to you. Like Andy said, like, you don't have to show anything in order. Like, if there's an image there that kind of works better if you bring it forward earlier in the day and make it look like they're laughing at a speech, it's up to you. Like, you don't have to show the shoes, you don't have to show the dress, you don't have to show anything. Like, every single picture that you put out under your brand, you're in control of that, in our opinion. Some people blog differently. Some people will blog. Like, whereas Andy shows, the first thing he shows to the client is the slideshow, some people will blog for the client and show the client first. That's the first way their client sees their pictures, as a blog post. And that works for other people. But there's lots of ways to do this. The way we promote is what we call power blogging. And it really comes down to this, in that you show what you want to shoot. So I hate doing dress shots, I hate doing shoe shots, I hate taking pictures of venues, so I hate doing group shots. None of that stuff ever goes on my website. All sorts of stuff, like literally what you put out will be what you are booked for. So you got to think of that when you choose a picture to go out under your brand on your website. Do you want to be booked to take that image again in the future? Like, every image has got to, like, smack people around the face and say, this is who I am as a photographer, this is what kind of pictures I take, this is why I'm different to everybody else. Yeah. And it comes down to this. So whenever we think about blogging, our thought process when we're choosing those pictures, or portfolio, like Andy said, is all kill and no filler. So that slideshow gold stuff, those little details, the stuff that is maybe a really nice picture for the client but isn't gonna get you another booking, like, that's cool. The client gets those pictures, and those pictures have their place in the world. They just don't have necessarily, in our opinion, have their place in a blog post or on a portfolio. So we're not really going to dwell on that, but that's really because, like I said, there's lots of ways you can do the blogging thing. But
super important if you like, go back through all everything you're putting out in public, go through it all, and if in any way you think like it doesn't represent who you are or what you want to be doing, you should be just removing it or asking yourself, like, who is that as a photographer? Like, what can I, like you said before, what's the reason that these people are going to book me photographically than the next guy, you know? And you have to start finding that stuff that it is for you, the reason those people will book you, and honing it into everything you put out. Because if it's not, then, like I think you mentioned before, it just becomes like a race to the bottom. If everyone is just kind of the same and everyone's putting out the same wedding photos, then it just becomes a race to the bottom on price.
Like every picture, I blog pretty regularly, like almost every wedding. But I don't feel like it matters if there's anything missing from the wedding. I don't feel like I need to show a first kiss, or I don't feel I need to show the couple walking out the church. Like, the only pictures I'll put up is like, does this feel like an Adam Johnson picture? If yes, then it makes it maybe. If no, then no, it doesn't. Like, and people will fill the gaps in. Like, if all the pictures you put out are good and kind of stylistically fit with each other, people will fill in between that to say, oh, you must be good at the other stuff. Like, if I like all these, like, I don't need to see a group shot to know you're any good at taking a group shot. I don't need to see a picture of maybe a dress hanging up to know that if I want that, you might be good at it.
That's like a huge important thing, I think, is that you're only really as good as the weakest images that we put out into the world. So when it comes to choosing what you show, if you show the weak images, then all that shows is you take weak images. If you remove and only show the greatest stuff, then, like you say, people fill in the gaps, they fill in the blanks. Yeah. So they don't sort of say, hang on a minute, where's the shot of them walking from the church to the bridal car? Like, they just assume that you've nailed that and that you made it awesome, because everything else you're showing is awesome as well.
And just things like, often when we're asked to maybe critique blog posts and stuff, you'll literally have to go through like 10, 20 images before you even see a human. Like, it'll be like venue shots, and then maybe some shoes, and then maybe like something random, and then back into something else, and then you'll see a person. You're like, thank God! Like, this is what weddings are all about, like people. And just constantly really asking yourself for every picture you're putting out, like, do you want to be booked for that picture? Do you want to be booked for that picture? Do you want to be booked for that picture? And really thinking about how you structure the post as well. Like, with blog posts, if you could only show somebody one image from that wedding, like, choose that image and put it first. It doesn't matter what it is. Just put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And like they don't have to follow chronology. You can do random if you want. Fawaristi blogs randomly. Sam Docker, if you know Sam Docker, like he blogs in random order.
But even if you blog randomly, like you put in the strongest photo of the day first at the top is super important, because brides and grooms, prospective people, they'll look at the first one and then chances are they'll be flicking through past everything else, and then they'll get to the bottom. So first and last, make them absolute killer stand out, either in order or not in order or whatever you want, but make the first image like, you know, the absolute like. And also just like in terms of stuff I was saying when the slideshow was playing, just about the way you structure these kind of things, you know, just it doesn't have to run in order. So you can, if you want to break, you know, like the idea of putting in certain images to break up the flow so that you're moving from one scene to another, or transitional photos, like mix it up and use those kind of storytelling tools to make the post kind of flow and work and be strong, so that it's not all over the place and the viewers aren't just being confused between seeing, you know, bride, then groom, then grandma, then groom, then bride, then grand, you know, it's all over the place.